Hello, welcome to the first episode of the Oversubscribed Challenge podcast. And in this episode, we'll be discussing why most businesses struggle. And just for you to know, this podcast is created to help businessmen and women like you to build their business, grow their business, scale, and actually become oversubscribed, whether or not you work with us at Primer Marketing Institute. So you want to watch every episode of this podcast as it begins to run this week of Christmas, December 2025, up until 2026, and until the day we think the podcast should wrap up, maybe 10 years time, 15 years time, 20 years time, until the end of times. So let's go right into today's podcast, why most businesses struggle, the episode 1 of the Oversubscribed Challenge podcast. Most businesses don't fail loudly. They struggle quietly. Sales become inconsistent. Growth feels random. Every new month feels like starting all over again. Yes, they are working harder. They are posting content. Some are even running ads. And I believe you are doing that. They are posting content consistently. You are running ads. But deep down, it feels like, why is this so hard? Why is this business not growing? Does it seem difficult? And customers are not buying. Customers are not purchasing your products. That is exactly what I want to talk about today, because most businesses don't struggle because they are lazy. I'm sure you're not lazy either, right? Most businesses don't struggle because they lack passion. I believe you have some form of passion, and they definitely don't struggle just because they are not trying. I believe you are trying. You are doing all the best. The thing is that most businesses struggle because they are building with tactics instead of building with a system. And I want to discuss that today. You see, most businesses are chasing quick wins instead of designing demand. Most businesses are adding tools to whatever they are doing instead of fixing the foundations. They are busy, but they are not actually building. And in today's episode, I want to show you the real reason why most businesses stay stuck, why hard work alone doesn't translate into growth, why those ads you are running don't magically fix things. I want to show you why many offers don't convert and why so many people feel like their market is too saturated. And more importantly, I want to show you what separates businesses that struggle from businesses that really become oversubscribed, where demand is higher than your capacity and where customers are waiting to buy from you instead of being chased. So my friend, if you ever felt like you are doing everything you are supposed to do, but results feel random, this episode is for you. So let's go ahead and talk about why most businesses struggle. I can confidently tell you that the number one reason most businesses struggle is because they confuse activity with strategy. Yeah, this is the truth. The reality is that if you are a serious business, you want to be consistent with creating content online. You want to sometimes run ads, boost your posts, boost your Instagram posts. You want to maybe sometimes create websites for your brand. And some other times you want to tweak some things. You just want to be in motion, just doing things, doing everything that you can do to ensure that sales are coming in. I'm sure that might have been your experience. I always say I've been in this field for a long time to see many clients who has felt like this. You spent money running ads, maybe sometimes hundreds of thousands of naira, but the ad is not converting. You kept posting and posting and posting. Nobody is liking your post. Nobody is commenting. That's our vanity metrics, but the reality is that doesn't bring sales in, right? You do so much, but you are not seeing the result that you want. Now, the reality is that all of this is happening because your business is not structured. Your client customer acquisition system has not been built. Yeah, you have been busy, but you have not structured how to acquire customers, how to create and engineer demand for your product. And you are not alone. Most struggling businesses are doing so many things, but they haven't decided what must work. Now, if you want to come out of this rat race of doing so many things, posting, now these things are legitimate. You should do them. You should post. You should run ads. You should do many of these things. But if you want to come out of this rat race, you must decide to build what is called a growth model. You must decide on what is it that I must do, that when I do it, I'll be able to move people from just people who don't know me to get them to know my business, to get them to be interested in what my business is about, and to get them to actually buy from us. You must design a path from stranger to customer. This is what you must do in order for you to be able to sit down, have an overarching view of what gets people in, what get them to convert, what get them to come out as loyal advocates of your brand. You must have that overarching structure in your business. How do you get people to know your business? How do you get people to be interested in what you have to sell? How do you follow up with them? You must set up that system. You must have that design part. What are the many touch points to your business? What are the paths people are taking from being a stranger to being a customer? Maybe you need to ask some of your customers, all right, what got them to notice you? Why did they think they should have bought from you? Maybe you want to do that, especially if you're a new business owner and you don't really know these things. You don't really know why people choose to buy from you instead of buying from others. All right, successful business owners like you, they know this. They know what separates them from other brands. They know what make them different. They know why their customers are in love with them. That is why they keep repeating the same thing, all right, to make sure the system keeps running 247 every day, every week, every month, every year. So you have to know what are the parts strangers or people are following, all right, from being a stranger to being a customer in my business. Until you know these parts, everything that you are doing will be like pouring water inside baskets. Nothing would work. You will make some post and you'll never even write some captions on it because you don't even know what makes your post get engagement in the first place. You don't know what kind of post to even post. You just make posts just because you have been told to make posts. You don't even know what kind of content to even publish. All right, you publish content, your content might even get views, but nobody's interested to buy because views are not necessarily what gets people to buy. All right, if you slap somebody, all right, all those skits, if you make any skits that's funny, people would like, it doesn't mean they will buy because you're not connecting with them, all right, with what is their pain problem, and you're not providing that product to solve their problem in your content. So you have to map out this path towards discovery of your brand and towards converting that stranger into a customer. It is when you do this that you stop just working hard and not getting results, all right, because hard work is not the same thing as demand. So this path is also called, in business jargon, also called funnels. All right, you have to design the funnel, all right, and you have to design this system, all right. So what path are they taking? Do they come to the landing page, and then from the landing page you see the product, then they have to click, they go to the cart page, checkout page, and then they buy? Okay, how do we get them to the landing page? Okay, once they go to the landing page, they go to the checkout and they did not buy, how do you follow up on them? Is it via emails? Is it via calls? Is it via messages? What is that overhacking demand generation system that your business wants to start implementing as a structure to ensure that strangers are consistently coming into your business and getting converted into customers consistently? This is number one thing that you must ensure if you don't just want to be working out without seeing results. Now to the number two reasons why most businesses struggle, of course, is a build up to the number one that I have talked about, leading a system. And this number two reason is that they don't build demand, they chase demand. All right, many business owners depend on luck. They depend on some spikes, some sales spikes. They wait for referrals. They don't engineer this demand and ensure that it is consistent. All right, they wait for one post to blow up. All right, chasing all these metrics that don't really count. All right, they turn on their ads, sometimes they turn it off. They wait for dirty December, they wait for Black Friday, they wait for all this promo time. All right, they wait to just give discounts to ensure people buy. That is not what you want to do. You don't want your sales to depend on promos. You don't want to depend on giving discount before people buy. You don't want to depend on having one post eventually going viral before people buy. You want to engineer demand. Struggling businesses live on sales spikes. Oversubscribed businesses build cash flow. They build sales flow. Sales coming consistently, controlled, predictable, not waiting on spikes to happen. So if you must have demand, you must design it. Yeah, the first thing I said, the problem is that just doing many activities without having a strategy. But now that you have a strategy, you must now implement that strategy. You must build that system. You want to design, engineer demand. You don't want to hope for demand. You want to implement the system that you want to build. All right, you don't want to keep chasing customers. You don't want to be doing good DMs. You know, that is good, I do it. You don't want to keep being the one looking for customers. You want your business to get to a point where customers are actually looking for you. All right, so not only should you have an overhacking strategy, you must now decide, I want to build it. You are not hoping. You are building a predictable demand acquisition or client acquisition, customer acquisition system to ensure people come into your business consistently every day and they convert in your business as customers. You want to ensure this because if you ensure this, it is to your own advantage. What you are looking for is to have way more demand than your business can supply. You want to have more customers than the number of products available for you to sell. You want to have more clients than your capacity to fulfill those client services. You want to have 10 people, 20 people, 100 people waiting to work for your business, especially if you're an agency, you are a service based business, then you can handle, let's say you can only handle 10 people in a month. You want to have 30 people vying to work with your business, but you can't handle all of them. That is the spot you want your business to be in. That is what we call being oversubscribed. You want your business to be oversubscribed. You don't want your success of your business to depend on when somebody finally refers someone to work with you. You don't want it to depend on, okay, you now decide to slash your price 50% discount. That is when sales are coming. That is when people decide to want to patronize your business. No, you don't want to be at the mercy of people waiting for you to give discounts before they eventually patronize your business. You want to maintain that price, and yet people are still queuing up to have the privilege to buy from you. That is what your business wants to do. But to do that, you must focus on ensuring that there is more demand than supply. So that means your goal in your business, always creating demand. You have to create that demand and supply tension. But how are you going to do it? That is what I want to discuss in the next point. The next reason why most businesses struggle is that they lead with products, not problems. Most businesses struggle because, okay, I have a product, let me just start selling the features, the features, the benefits, and all of those things. They are not leading with the problem. So most business struggles because they are presenting what is called weak offers to people. It doesn't matter how good, how functionally good, how intrinsic, all right, the product is the best product in its intrinsic features and its functionality. But offer is not just what the product can do. Offer is how it is perceived by the buyer. All right, how the buyer perceives the offer will transform his life or her life. That is what makes a good offer versus a bad offer. The implementation can be great, but the offer is, okay, what is this to the buyer? The offer is not what it is to the seller. All right, the offer is not, I am going to work 5 hours, or I'm going to work 24 hours, I'm not going to sleep, I'm going to build you a website. That is not your offer. Your offer is not the number of hours you are spending to build somebody website. The offer is not even the website you are building. The offer is what it is to the buyer. What is that website to the buyer? How does it transform the life of the buyer? How does it change the business of the buyer? What is the outcome? What is the benefit of the benefit of the benefit it is to the buyer? That is the offer. So your ability to create a strong, irresistible offer will go a long way in helping you to actually now engineer strong demand for your offer. But it begins with understanding what is the problem that your audience is facing, not leading with what is the product I want to sell to the audience. No, you want to lead with what is the problem your audience is facing that you can help them solve, not what is the product I am selling that I must find audience to sell to. No, what is the problem this audience and audience is facing that you want to help them solve. You must lead with the problem. All right, so yeah, you have the products, but the question is, who is this product for? What is their problem? Why should they take you serious? Why should they buy from you? Why should they consider your business instead of other people's business? You have to ask, all right, what is the great mechanism in your product that solves the deepest, darkest problem of your audience? Nobody is interested in the features of your product. People are interested in themselves. Your buyers are interested in their own life. They are not interested in you use the latest whatever to build your product, unless that latest whatever affects the problem they have. That is only when you can mention that latest features or latest mechanism. All right, before you mention that, you must first connect with their problem. People buy for themselves. They don't buy to show you have built something good. They buy for themselves. They buy for their own reason. They buy for their own personal reason. So you have to decide, or you have to investigate, what is the painful problem. This problem is so painful, your audience wants it solved right now. That is your first step in engineering demand for your product. If I solve this problem, what are the outcomes? All right, how will solving this problem change the life of the audience? Maybe your product is about a book to help children be more intelligent. All right, the problem could be that your audience's children are the average in class. They're not that very great in their studies. That is the problem that is apparent to the audience. But when you demonstrate that you know this problem more than the audience even see this problem, then you be able to connect with them. How will you demonstrate that? The question is, what is the ripple effect of that problem? All right, child being average or less than average might have been a source of distress, frustration to the parents. Other people's children are paying the same school fees as the audience's children, but the children are coming 24 out of 30 people in class as their score, their results, right? Maybe their classmates are ridiculing them, calling them olodo, calling them dollars, calling them they're not very intelligent. And maybe there are some parents of those intelligent students in class, so that when who looks at your audience with one eyes, all right, when they attend PTA because of the kind of position your audience is, all right, the ripple effect of that pain, you must jot all of those down. Jot them down. Maybe when those children come home, the way they behave, they actually behave like people who are not intelligent. All right, how these things have been a source of distress, frustration to the parents, despite the fact they are paying huge sum of money as school fees, as every other fee they are paying in the school. All right, so you want to talk about the problem of the problem, the problem of the problem of the problem. All right, this is how you connect. You are meeting them at the point of their thoughts. What are they thinking about? That is how you connect with them. In connecting with them, what will life look like if you are able to solve their problem? So you want to begin with, what is their present situation? What is the outcome? What is the obstacle? All right, the obstacle is what your product now wants to solve to get them from point A to point Z. All right, so you want to note that the problem, the outcome, the transformation. What is the benefit of the outcome? What is the transformation? How would life look like? What are the ripple effects of those benefits? You want to have all of them. This is how you begin to connect with your audience. It is when you connect with your audience and you build like a mass movement of those audience. That is when your brand begin to have a market of its own. That is your brand begin to be the leader of that market. That is when your brand become an oversubscribed brand. That is when your brand separates itself from being one out of many. That is when your brand being an audience of one. All right, it is its own niche because it has separated itself by carving out a market of people that you were able to connect with. This is what matters. This is how you begin to engineer demand for your products, because if your audience doesn't feel like this is for me, you're going to struggle. If you don't feel like this brand actually gets me, this brand actually understand my pain, this brand actually feel what I'm feeling, if they don't have that connection, they're not going to buy. You're going to be chasing them instead of them chasing you. But when you connect with your audience, when they feel like, I think this brand understands me, all right, and when you begin to build that community, that market, or that audience, your brand becomes the leader of that market. Your big brand becomes the leader of that community. The community will always look to your brand for hope, for solutions to their problems. All right, and because you have an ecosystem of products, your product is merely a solution to their problem. Your product is not just products that you are pushing, shoving down their throat for them to buy. No, they know you have made them realize they have a problem that needs solving. You have made them realize the outcome, how life would look like if they solve the problem. You have made them realize the shortcoming, the obstacle, and you have made them realize how to remove that obstacle. Your product is merely that thing that will help them remove the obstacle and get them from point A to point Z. So now they are the one looking for, okay, please, I want to remove this obstacle. They are the one trying to call you, please help me remove this obstacle. You're not the one chasing them by leading with your product. No, they are the one now chasing you by asking you to please help us solve this problem. When people realize that they have a problem and it is possible for that problem to be solved, and they know that there's a person who can solve the problem, they want to come for that person to solve the problem. All right, so that is how you have to present your offer. And if you do this, then your offer will begin to convert, you begin to generate demand. All right, so then your traffic will begin to be the one trying to find you, to buy from you. Why? Because you have made yourself available to share their problem with them, share the possible solution, and then reveal the obstacle, and then say to them, what I am doing right now is exactly what I'm trying to teach you. I'm showing you the problem, I'm showing you the outcome, I'm showing you the obstacle. Guess what? When you are ready to become oversubscribed and you actually want a done for you service, then you can come to PMI and we'll work with you. Exactly what I'm doing with you is what you are going to deal with your audience in your content, in your social media content, in your hearts, in everything. This is how you present your offer, by leading with a problem. Yeah, that is wrapping up with the third reason why most businesses struggle. They lead with products instead of leading with the problem. Now, to the number 4 reason why most businesses struggle is that most businesses compete where they are weak, and that is on price. You are not the cheapest, so you are weak on that. So why are you competing on price? All right, it's that if you're not going to be the cheapest brand, it's better not to be the second cheapest, because the cheapest brand have already gotten the market of people who are looking for it. The cheapest. If you're not going to be Amazon, Walmart, Jumia is not even selling very cheap products anymore. If you're not going to be the cheapest, there's no point trying to compete on price. If you must compete, you should compete on value. All right, so when businesses don't compete on perceived value, not just the intrinsic value, but the perceived value, when businesses don't compete on that, then they begin to compete on price. And the reality is that when people don't understand your value, then they too will be comparing your price. They will be trying to pricing you anyhow, because they don't understand your value, and that's because you've not explained your value. You've not communicated that perceived value to your audience, and that's leading back to the previous reasons. All right, leading with problem and not with products. You must ensure that people understand, okay, this is why this brand is different from that other brand. If I want my status to be known as a very rich person, maybe I will not buy a Techno phone, I'm going to buy an iPhone. All right, because iPhone has communicated that perceived value of status being used by status. That's why many Nigerians, even many young Nigerians, they would rather buy not single second hand, third hand or fourth hand iPhone than buy a new Techno. Why? Some people that don't care just get to buy the Techno because all they're looking for is just the functional value of the phone. All right, but those who want men's validation, those who want to be seen as big boys and big girls, they don't mind buying iPhone, even if it's not a new iPhone. At least let it be iPhone, because Apple has positioned itself as a brand and its products as a product for people who are world changers, people who are thinking bigger. All right, so this is a kind of positioning you want to do for your brand. Also, you want to communicate the perceived value, not just the intrinsic value, but the perceived value. That is what you want to communicate in your marketing, and that is what will separate you from other brands. And when you begin to communicate that perceived value, you begin to attract the kind of audience your brand actually needs to thrive. Because of the communication of Apple, all right, we are a company of people who think big, the misfits, the people who are not just trying to blend among the audience, the people who stand out. Because of that, they attract that kind of people to their brand. But if all you are communicating is price slash 50% discount, 10% discount, you're going to attract the wrong buyers. You're going to attract people who are broke, people who have no money, people who are just looking for the cheapest to buy. And because eventually you are not still the cheapest, they will see your price and then go and compare with other prices until they find the cheapest price and then they buy from the cheapest, because that is what you've communicated. You've communicated price cuts as your own advantage, and that is why you are not really selling as much as you should sell. So competing on price is what you do when you can't compete on meaning, when you can't compete on value. So competing on price is a losing game. You don't want that to be your strategy. You want your strategy to be that you are competing on value. Now, the next reason why most businesses struggle is that they make noise, they don't build authority. As you can notice from what I've been explaining, each of these points builds on each other. When you begin to compete on value, what are you going to do? You're going to build authority. But if you're just creating content for the sake of creating content, just doing activity without strategy, yeah, you probably have visibility because of the volume of content that you are creating, but you're going to have visibility without leadership. You're going to have visibility without authority. People will see you, but they will see your brand as, this is not the brand I want to associate with, right? Because you don't have a compelling strategy. If not, build a system around the kind of people you want. You don't even know the kind of audience that you want to serve. You don't have a way to connect with them, with their problem. You don't have a way to explain the perceived value to draw the right audience. Because of that, if you're making noise, all right, and only people who are looking for that price cut, that people you'll be attracting to your business. But this is not the kind of business that you want to build. This is not how you want to build your business, because that's how most people build their business. Everyone posts. Only few people educate their audience about the problem, the pain, the outcome, the perceived value of their products. Everybody posts, not everybody educates. So you want to do what many people are not doing. You want to start educating your audience about their problem, about their pain, about the outcome, about the obstacle, why they are not leaving their brain and moving toward the outcome. You want to educate the audience about that. When the audience really understand that you actually understand their pain, their problem, the outcome they are looking for, and you know the obstacle, then they know that you can actually take away the obstacle with your product. Then they want to flock your product. So you want to explain, you want to bring the problem, you want to have some framework. This is the step-by-step, 5-step to go from point A to point B. All right, you've explained the point A, you've explained the point B. Now you want to create the step. That step is your product. Right? That is what you want to do. All right. So when you begin to educate your audience like that, you are building authority. You are becoming the reference point. When they want to learn about any issue they are having, they come to your post, they come to your handle, they come to your social media page. When they want to learn about how to solve a little problem that they have, they come to your social media page. And when they want to actually solve everything in total, then they buy your products for that. This is what you want to do. You don't want your content should just be about come and buy, come and buy, come and buy. You don't want your content should just be about 10% discount, 20% discount. No. You want to position yourself as the trusted guide. You want to position your brand as a trusted authority. So it's not just about come and buy land here. No, you want to explain how to get original land, why people get duped. Those questions already running in the mind of your audience. You want to use them as content, why you can be duped by a real estate developer. All right, they already have that question, they already have that objections. Why not just tell them the objection they have and solve it as content? All right, you want to start educating them. It is in that education they begin to see you as a trusted advisor. So when they are ready to buy the land, they know the person they can trust, who will not dupe them, because you've revealed many ways people can dupe them. Guess who they are coming to buy the land from? From you, not from the other person who is saying, come and buy land, today's post, buy land, next post, buy land, next tomorrow's post, buy land, another post, buy land. In fact, they will grow blind eyes to that kind of content, because that person is no longer an authority. The person is not showing himself as an authority, the person is just showing himself as a salesman. That is not how you want to build your business. You want people to see you as a reference point. You want them to see you as authority, not as someone that is just making noise. People don't follow the loudest brand online. They follow the clearest one. They follow people who are authority. They want to listen to the influencers, people who know the inside out of the market. You can only show them you know the inside out by educating them about the inside out. That is how you build authority and build a demand for your products. The number 6 reason why your business might be struggling is mainly because you want results before the foundations. You see, many business owners are skipping the build phase. There is a phase in your business where you are building the different parts of that system, of that demand system. So you are not looking for immediate huge sales. You are building. It's like someone that is trying to build a skyscraper. You have to build solid foundation before you build, all right, the remaining parts of the house. So you are building the system part by part. You are connecting them together. You are building the sales funnel. You are linking them with the email system. You are building your welcome sequence. You are building the structure of how you respond to every DM that comes to your business. You have built a structure of how to follow up on them. Maybe after 3 or 5 days when they have messaged you, you want to follow up if they don't yet bought your product. At that point, you are laying down the foundations. It is on this foundation that you are now building upon, so that even if you have 100 volume of customers a day, 200 customers a day, there is a structure that is being followed. But if you don't have that structure, if you are not building those foundations, people will start complaining that they come to your DM, you are not responding to them. They come to this, you are not fixing this, because you've not built that foundation. You've not built that connected system. You've not laid it down. You are chasing results first instead of building your strategy, instead of building that connected system first. And that is why maybe you are not selling. That is why people get frustrated buying something from you, because they ask you questions that you've not prepared answers for, because they make complaints that you're not prepared to address. That is because you are chasing results before building the foundation. If you check the story of the children of Israel, when they were coming out of the wilderness and they got to Jericho, they wanted to take Jericho. Yeah, maybe they wanted the walls down. That is the result, in quotes. That is what they want. But before they get that result, before they have the walls crumble, God wanted their obedience first. God wanted them to do something that showed that they actually trust in Him. So there has to be some process before there has to be some proof. But some people just want the results without actually laying down some foundations that determine the results. Many businesses want to scale before they build a system that will manage the scale. All right, so they are selling 10 products per day. They are having difficulty in following up on people who have not gotten the product delivered to them. They've paid, the product has not reached them. They are finding difficulty following up on them, ensuring that they were able to solve the problem of the 10 people that they are receiving per day, but they suddenly want to start having 100 sales per day. You don't do that, people will start complaining. That scaling would effectively destroy your brand instead of improving your brand. So you don't want that. You want to build a solid system first that will manage that scale, that will follow up on people, that will follow up on the customers, that will onboard the customers, follow up on them, that will turn the customers into your advocates. You want to build that system that will follow up on leads who have not yet turned into customers, that will ensure that they move from being visitors into leads and from being leads into customers. You want to ensure that you build trust even before you ask the leads to come and buy. You want to show them all the trust signals. But people just want to scale before they build the system. They want to actually sell before they build the trust, and that is where the problem is. They want to increase before they build this discipline. That is what might be hindering your growth. That is why people will keep complaining about your business online. You are treating them poorly. You begin to build bad reputation for your brand online, and that impedes your growth instead of scaling your growth. And in this life and in business, foundations are built before visibility. You need to obey those principles of setting up those structure before you eventually increase. And if you do this, it will save your business from building a bad reputation. It will actually make your business build a good reputation for it. And the last point, number 7 reason why most businesses struggle is that they think the market is the problem. They never see the problem as them. They think others, the audience, is the problem. They blame saturation. Oh, the market is saturated. Many people are doing what I'm doing. Maybe that is why I'm not selling. But the problem isn't really that you have so many competitors and the market is saturated. Maybe that is not the problem. Maybe the problem is that you and other competitors, there is no difference between you and them. You have the same messaging, you have the same offers, you have the same positioning, you have the same generic promises. So when customers see you, they see others, there's no point, there's no difference. So maybe they'll just go for the cheapest. Maybe that is the reason why you are not selling. So instead of blaming the audience, instead of blaming the customers, why not introspect? Why not think about how you are positioning yourself in the market? Because the problem is that the market isn't really full of great businesses. The market is full of similar businesses, different products, but they are not really different. So if you look like everyone in the market, you're also going to struggle like everyone in the market. And that is why market feels saturated. They feel saturated because people really don't know the difference between you and your competitor. And to come out from that circle of sameness with your competitors, you have to position yourself. You have to understand what is called positioning. Positioning is where you define who your audience is, what your product does for them. If you're the manufacturer of this mic, you can position this same mic differently from another person producing another mic. It all depends on how you want to position your microphone. If you are producing shaving stick, a company can position it in a way, another company can position it in another way. A company can position it in a way to make yourself healthy, another company can position it in a way to make you sexy. It's all about different positioning. And being healthy and being sexy, they are two different things. It will attract two different markets which may overlap because they are all male, right? But for two different reasons. And these two different markets will be addicted to these two different brands, even though they are selling the same thing, but they are positioning it as different thing. All right, so they will always have their markets. So it's all about how you position your products, even though it is the same with other people's products. So your offer, how you communicate the offer, how you communicate what this product does. Yeah, the product may do the same thing functionally for the brand, but the perception of the product must be different from how somebody else has communicated his own offer to the market. This is what makes your product stand out from other people's products. And when you do this, you will no longer complain that the market is saturated, you have too many competitors and they are not buying your product. Many pizzas were before Domino's Pizza ruled the market, and that is because they position themselves as a pizza for people who are hungry now and want their pizza within 30 minutes or less. That is how they became different, and Domino's Pizza owned the industry of pizza. So you have to position your product differently. Who are you selling to? Domino's Pizza, we are not selling to people who want the most delicious pizza. Domino's Pizza was not the most delicious pizza. Domino's Pizza was selling to people who want pizza now, who who are very hungry, cannot wait for 2 hours for a food to be done. They want pizza within 30 minutes. That is who Domino's Pizza were selling for. So they know their audience, they know what the benefit of their products to their audience. That is what positioning is. Who specifically are you selling to? You are not selling to everybody, even though anybody can buy your products. Domino's Pizza was not selling pizza to everybody. Some people eat pizza because they want the most delicious pizza. Some people just want fresh, hot pizza within 30 minutes of their order. These are the people Domino's was selling to. And from that, they became billion-dollar industry. That's how Domino's Pizza ruled the market. So you want your product, your brand to be positioned differently. So you have to determine the kind of audience you are selling to. Are you selling to everybody? Or you are selling to people who want status? Or you are selling to high net worth individuals? Or you are selling to the mass markets? Who are you really selling to? What are you selling to them? How do you want to communicate your product? If you do this, you're not going to complain about having a market saturated again. And if you understood everything I've just shared in this podcast episode, you realize why most businesses struggle. It's not because they lack efforts, it's because they don't have a clear positioning in the markets. They don't have a designed customer journey for their brand. They don't have a system that turns attention into demand, and they don't have the authority that makes people actually choose them. They are busy, but they are actually not building. And if there's one thing I want you to take from this episode, it is this: growth stops being random when your system stops being random. When you know who you are for, what problem you are actually solving better than anyone else, and how a stranger becomes a customer in your world. That is exactly when you stop chasing, and that is when you start attracting your buyers. That is when you move from struggling to oversubscribed. Now, if you are listening to this and you are thinking, this makes sense, but I don't even know where to start. Yeah, that is exactly why we built something at PMI called Digital Launchpad Accelerator. It is designed for businesses who are tired of guessing and want a full system that actually works. Inside the Digital Launchpad Accelerator, we help you clarify your positioning and your offer. We help you build high-converting landing pages and funnels. We help you set up your email follow-up and automation. We help you design your premium website and drive demand with ads and content, all working together as one growth system, not one-off tactics. It's a launchpad for predictable client and revenue growth. So my friend, if you are done struggling and you're ready to build a business people are waiting to buy from, visit pmi.ng/digital-launchpad, or you can click the link in the description below this video. Go to that landing page and read the copy on the landing page and see if it fits where you are going. And if it does fit where you are going, we would love to help you build your client acquisition system. And note, this week I'm breaking down part of what I've just shared in short videos, but this episode is your foundation. Thanks for listening. See you again next week. Let's build something together worth scaling.